We'll give them about 30 more seconds and then they'll just have to catch up. Because I don't want to cut Johnny's time. Well, good morning, everyone. This is Doris Carson Williams, President and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce here in Western Pennsylvania, where our mission is to continuously improve business opportunities and activities for all small businesses in our region. We are pleased to have you here with us as Johnny Gamble from the Small Business Development Center at the University of Pittsburgh gives us another eventful presentation on how to use Microsoft Office. Today, it's for PowerPoint. And let me just ask that everyone stay on mute unless you have a question. And Johnny doesn't mind you raising your hand to ask a question in between. He's fine with that. All of us work on PowerPoints. And we do the basic things that we know, Johnny, and we'd like to be a little bit more elaborate and efficient in how we operate it. So this is your time to demonstrate to us what we need to know and how we need to do this better. Welcome, Johnny.
All right, well, thank you so much for the introduction, Doris. We here at the Pitt SBDC, we're very, very happy to work with some of our resource partners. So it's always great to have a meeting here, get to meet a lot of new businesses, get to work with the African American Chamber of Commerce of Western Pennsylvania. So we here at the Pitt SBDC, what we do is we provide no-cost consulting services to any business out there. So it's great to then be able to help work with businesses. A lot of the clients I work with, I try to help them with their Microsoft Office productions then. So with that introduction out of the way, let me go ahead and share my screen and we can go ahead and get right into it. Okay. Okay, so as I understand, my screen is sharing now, but if it's not, somebody let me know. So going into today, we have a few different things to go over today. We're going to start off with a brief discussion of Microsoft Outlook and PowerPoint versus their Google equivalents. Then we're going to go into some quick tips on Outlook and then spend a little bit more time going into some PowerPoint, some deeper tips on the PowerPoint then. We'll finish the day with a Q&A, but I'm also open to, if anyone has a question in the middle of the meeting, feel free to raise your hand and we can try to go over questions then too. So to start off with then, Google also has similar products and services to Microsoft when it comes to Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft PowerPoint then. Google's alternatives are called Gmail and Google Slides. And what's great about the Google versions is that they're often come at no cost to the business then. You could often get free versions of them online then. For the most part, they're very, very similar services. The one key thing to highlight though is that Google services are very, very good when collaborating with the team on one document all at the same time. So for example, if you want to have multiple people working on one PowerPoint presentation, like let's say one person is going to work on the first two slides, another person on the middle slides, another person on the ending, the Google Slides variant is a lot better at being able to handle multiple people editing the document all at once then. PowerPoint and Microsoft features and the Microsoft versions in general tend to have a little bit more features in there. But when it comes to collaboration at the same time, Google tends to work a little bit better for that. The cons to working with Google, though, is that it tends to be a little bit less user-friendly, fewer features and templates on there. Then, in particular, Gmail is a lot more streamlined, doesn't have nearly as many features as Microsoft Outlook then. But for example, for PowerPoint versus Slides, they tend to be relatively similar then in terms of their features and capabilities then. So that let's go ahead and get into some tips on Outlook then. So I've broken it down into starter tips, initial tips for you to get started in, intermediate tips for once you're a little bit used to Outlook, and then some expert tips if you're really trying to work on those emails then. So for the sake of the presentation today, I always like being able to demonstrate it too. So here, let me hop out of presentation mode real fast. So one great tip to working with Outlook is that you can really try to coordinate your emails by using color coding. So when you right click on an email within Outlook, you can go down here to categories and try to pick out different colors to categorize things by. One thing that I've done for myself is if I have one folder where I have presentations going, for every Zoom link I have, I make sure to mark that in blue. So that way, when it comes to the day of the event, I can go back to that folder and I can see, okay, exactly, here's a link to Zoom, it's marked blue. I can go through my list and make sure I can find those exact emails when I'm looking for that. Color coordinating can also be really helpful if you have a shared email box. One thing that I've seen happen before is that if you have a shared email box and certain people might be working on responding to different emails at once, might be able to categorize it per person working on there. So maybe John Doe is blue and maybe Jane Doe is green, that sort of thing. So the color categories can be a quick, really easy way for you to categorize your emails then. One other really nice tip is that if you see a junk email or one that really isn't relevant to you, I always recommend archiving the email as opposed to deleting it outright. So the thing is, when you delete an email, it will then go to your recently deleted, but after a certain amount of time, the email software will automatically delete that email and it will be gone. You won't have a way to track it from there then. What's nice about archiving the email instead is that it'll still get it out of the way, still clear out your clutter, but you'll be able to go back and search for it later then. What's also nice about archiving is that it's still just one click. So in this view right here, if you see this little green icon right here at the top, all I gotta do is just click it once, move it right to the archive folder, and boom, it's gone. I can undo it if I made a mistake real fast. I'm not accidentally deleting something that could be important then. It's because it's still going to be fully searchable to get in order to be able to look at that then. Now, one really nice intermediate tip when it comes to Outlook then. One intermediate tip that really comes to working with Outlook is using a different Microsoft service called Bookings to help schedule your meetings then. So what Bookings is it's another software that you can use you can send someone a link to your Bookings account and then they can schedule a meeting directly onto your calendar. It's really customizable. And what's really nice about it is that it saves you a lot of time then. Someone, when they have the link, they can just grab it. They can go find a spot on their calendar. You can avoid that back and forth emailing of trying to find a specific time. It's also nice in that whoever scheduled the meeting with you, it sends them automatic reminders. So for me, with my job, having to meet with a lot of different business owners, all I can do is say, hey, if you want to schedule a meeting with me, here's the link right there. They'll schedule a time on my calendar, and then they can go and then they'll be reminded of it ahead of time. So let's go through an example of what Bookings looks like. So the way I have my Bookings set up is with 3 different services. If someone wants to meet with me via phone call, someone wants to meet with me via Zoom, so meet virtually then, or if someone wants to have an in-person meeting with me then. So in terms of process, what I'll do is I'll send someone a link to book a meeting with me. Once they have that link, they'll choose one of those 3 options, so phone call, Zoom meeting, or in person. And then they can then choose to select what date and time that they're looking to meet then. After that, they can type in their contact information to make sure I know exactly who I'm trying to meet with then, and then they'll receive a confirmation of it then. So I actually have my Bookings link set up right here then. So let's go and do a quick example of it. So let's say I sent this email to someone and then they say, you know what, Johnny, I really want to meet with you by Zoom. So we'll click the Zoom meeting then. We'll scroll down. You can see what dates are available here. I actually just had someone book one with me this morning. So let me refresh it to make sure I'm not double booking anybody with this test one right here. Yeah. It was the 26th that went away then. So we click Zoom meeting. So looks like my schedule is filling up actually. I'm almost fully booked next week already. So let's go ahead and select, July 25th. I can then select a time. I can then put in my details. So John John Doe test at test.com. If I wanted to put additional information in there, you can. What's interesting is, let's say if I selected phone call meeting, you can set up different requirements on there. So if it's a phone call meeting, I've set it to be required for someone to put in their phone number, of course, then. So I'll type in 4264843. That is my phone number. And if I click book, oh, I prefer date and time. If I click book, boom, the meeting's scheduled. The person can reschedule themselves, cancel any bookings. They'll see tests. They'll see automatic email reminders come in. Then, even me myself, because someone booked a meeting with me, you might see something pop up here while I'm presenting here. So it's one of those things of it can help save you a lot of time in terms of your calendar schedule to using a service like Bookings then. One other really helpful tip for Outlook then is, here, Alicia, I see that you have your hand raised.
Yes, I have a question. Where did you find that at? I think I might have missed where you actually found that Bookings at.
Yeah.
Where do you find it at?
Yeah, so Bookings is under, like, it's available if you have Microsoft Office 365 for business. So you may need a specific subscription level then. I find it myself under like your general Microsoft Office suite. So like if I logged into my Pitt stuff here, there would be an option for Microsoft Office, and then there's a link for Bookings then from there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So one other really great tip for working with Outlook is making sure to stay organized. One thing that really comes up with me with my job at least is I get emails all day, emails every second of the day, right? So what's really worked for me in order to help me out then is by making sure I keep really good keep folders. I keep a lot of folders, and I really try to really keep good management of those emails then. So it's not every single email I don't think is relevant. I go and archive them, we went over earlier. What I have it broken down into is I have a folder specifically for client emails, for example. But I just checked the other day. I've worked with 170 businesses so far in the last year. So I can't just go in there and put all my clients in one folder then itself then. The way I have it broken down is I listed it alphabetically then. So if I'm looking for a specific client, I can then go into my client folder and then into their alphabetical name and then try to find them from there then. And so what's really nice about this is, let's say I'm trying to look for something specifically in here. If I just go and minimize that folder, suddenly everything looks manageable again. I'm not overloading my bar on the side of the screen with every single person I've ever worked with before. But it's organized in a way where if I need to find someone quickly, if I need to find John Doe, I can go to clients, and then I can go to Jay and then find them specifically then. I also do that with a few different categories. So one thing I'm going to get to in a second here is having different email templates. So for example, I try to keep different folders for different templates on hand then. It's another one of those things where you can hide it or unhide it then, as long as you keep good folder management then. It's really helpful to organize your thoughts using those folders then. So speaking of folders and those templates then, one thing that I really like to do is try to save myself some time in terms of sending emails over and over and over again. One thing that applies to my job specifically is I work at a different office every day. So at the Pitt SBDC, I work on the North Shore on Tuesdays. I work in Oakland on Wednesdays. I work on the north side, like Perrysville area, on Thursdays, and then I work in Homewood on Fridays. So if someone uses that booking service and they set up a meeting with me, they'll still get an email reminder, but I always like to send one personally too, just to make sure that they have the right address, just to make sure we're all on the same page then. So for example, if someone schedules an in-person meeting with me in Homewood, I have this email template right here set up. So let's say I wanted to go send this email to someone. Well, since I have this set up as a template, I can just copy this email right here, open up a new email, paste that in, and then I can go and send them this automated response. So I'll go type in, hello, John Doe. I got your meeting request for Friday the 21st at 10 a.m. I don't have to rewrite the address. The address is already listed there. I have, if there's parking available as well as public transportation. It says, hey, if something comes up, we can reschedule. What setting this up as an email template has done for me is it saves me a lot of time, and as opposed to needing to go forth and rewrite the same email over and over and over again every time I get a new meeting request, I can just copy that template, paste it into a new email, and then take it from there then. For a lot of for basically, at least for this folder of meeting confirmations, I have a different template for each one of those then. So for example, when we did the meeting request earlier, I did a phone call meeting. Well, I have this one set up to then also list the phone number I'm going to call them at too then. So setting up those email templates are a good way to save yourself some time. By setting it up in a way that you can copy and paste it, just update the key information, you can really save yourself a lot of time and effort there. Okay. Now, one last thing when it comes to your when it comes to Outlook, then is turning off the automatic Teams meeting. Then, so the thing is, what happens is Outlook defaults your settings, so that way when you send someone a meeting request, it will automatically add a Microsoft Teams meeting to that meeting request. However, you may not always want that Teams meeting in there then. So for example, we here at the Pitt SBDC, we also have a Zoom subscription. So when I go and have those virtual meetings with clients, then I always tend to send them a Zoom link as opposed to a Microsoft Teams meeting then. So what was happening was that I would go and set that Zoom meeting. If you see there in the screenshot, it's looking all right. It has the Zoom meeting listed right there then. However, at the bottom of that meeting request, if you scroll down over here, what you'll see is that there was a hidden Microsoft Teams meeting at the bottom of the invitation I would send to people. So even though it listed the location correctly as Zoom, there's also a second Microsoft Teams meeting automatically listed on there then. And so what would happen was when people would go and get that meeting request, they would see it looking all correct. They would see it display as, okay, here's the Zoom link right there, but then there would be a button in the bottom right-hand corner that said join online. Well, that join online didn't take you to the Zoom meeting. That join online took you to the Teams meeting, which I didn't even know was there. And this is a really, really common issue I end up seeing. Like, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of smart people at Pitt, but I definitely get a lot of department meetings where there's a hidden Microsoft Teams meeting. There's always a fluster. People are like, oh, I don't know where to go before a lot of those meetings then. So when this happens, it can be someone might be in the wrong place. There's going to be confusion. People are going to send emails back and forth trying to figure out what they are then. That automatic Teams meeting can really be an issue if you're not looking to have a Teams meeting specifically then. So in order to turn that automatic setting off then, what you can do is in Outlook itself, if you go up to File in the top left-hand corner, and then go down to Options in the bottom left-hand corner, and then on the left-hand side, if you click Calendar, and then under Calendar Options, Add Online Meeting to All Meetings, if you click Meeting Provider, you can then uncheck this box for Add Online Meeting to All Meetings then. It also mentions having a default provider. I've considered putting Zoom in there, but for the most part, what I found is I want to make sure I specify an online meeting when I send someone a meeting request then. So at least in my experience, I don't want an online meeting to all meetings. I want the choice of putting it in there when I want to have it in there. And so with that covers the key details, the key tips to working with Microsoft Outlook then. So real fast before I move on to PowerPoint then, anyone have any quick questions on Outlook then? Going once, going twice. All right, well with that, let's go on into PowerPoint then. So I formatted the PowerPoint section similarly to the Outlook section. So we'll go with 3 starter tips, then we'll move on to 3 intermediate tips, and then we'll end with some expert tips that can give you a lot of really important advice then. So first off, working with PowerPoint then, one thing to keep in mind then is that there are a lot of built-in templates on Microsoft PowerPoint yourself. Again, you don't necessarily need to do the work of every time you work in PowerPoint, like, oh, I want to make sure I have the best, I want to make sure I have a really nice looking presentation here. You can use those built-in PowerPoint templates on there to just to at least start off with a really nice presentation then. So if you go up to File and click New, or if you just open a PowerPoint for the first time then, what you'll see is that there are a lot of built-in templates on here. So you don't necessarily need to start with a blank presentation. You can look through a lot of Microsoft-specific templates in here, geometric color block, Cameo all hands, Cameo all hands presentation, architecture pitch deck. What's one of these that looks good? Let's see. Well, earlier I used this one called Galaxy presentation. So if I then click onto that template, I can then click create. It'll download the template, and then boom, a new version of it will pop up right here. And so you don't necessarily need to do all the work over and over and over again. If you can find a really nice template that works for you, then you can use one of those built-in templates, and then you can have a really nice looking presentation here. So what's also really nice is, let's say you go through this presentation, and you say, okay, wow, I really like how this slide right here is set up. Let's go just with the example of this table right here. So let's say I really like this table here, and you know what? I want to use the same format for the slide in another place too. Let's say I want to put in a second table then. So one way you can make sure you have consistent formatting from slide to slide then, the easiest thing to do is just right-click on it and click Duplicate Slide. And then boom, you have 2 slides that are the exact same. Well, now that I have 2 slides of the same, let's mess with them a little bit. We'll call this one Table 1. We'll call this one Table 2. If you set up your one slide in a way that looks really good and you want to make sure to maintain that design from slide to slide, just duplicating slide is the easiest, simplest way to copy the design of one slide to another then. So for example, when I was making my presentation myself here, and you see how I have the PowerPoint logo up in the top right? Well, if you see that PowerPoint logo is the same from slide to slide. So when I was making this, all I did was duplicate. I clicked on my slide. I clicked duplicate slide. I added all the information from there then. By duplicating the slide, I made sure that the title up top stayed the same. I made sure that logo stayed the same then. I maintained consistent appearance from slide to slide using that duplicate slide feature. One other really cool way to use PowerPoint then is using animations. So when I was in the normal view, you wouldn't see animations pop up because I was in the editing view because I'm trying to showcase that. But what animations are, or when you are in the presentation mode, you can have information pop up little bit by little bit then. You can animate how the information will display on the screen then. So one way to do it is just have it appear. You see how this is just going from blank to blank? All I'm doing is going back and forth on the PowerPoint presentation mode. So for an appear animation, it just appears right on the screen. For a fade animation, it fades onto the screen. For fly in, it flies in. Float in, it floats in. There are a lot of different options in terms of animations you can have on there then. So choosing what animation fits the style of the presentation that you're going for then. If it's something like if it's something like a pie chart, for example, maybe this wheel animation could be a unique way to display that then. There are a lot of different animation types on there, so it's important to think about what animation makes sense to you then. It's also a thing of, it doesn't just need to be text that animates in. Right there, I used an image right there. I animated an image to appear onto the screen. So there are a lot of different animations you can do. There are a lot of different cool effects, different things that can happen then. And using those animations, you can really get down to the nitty-gritty of, I want to make sure that my presentation displays the information in the way that I want to display it. So one way, all right. So the beginner tip was going over what those animations are. The intermediate tip is using the animation pane to use those animations in a little bit more detail here. So if you go up to animations and then click on animation pane, well, I don't have it on this slide. I don't have any animations on this slide, but let's go back to that previous one where text appeared line after line after line then. So here's what the animation pane looked like for this page then. So this one was set in order of first the appear one appears, then the fade, then the fly in, so on and so forth. But with this animation pane, you can rearrange things if you want certain things to appear in a certain order then. So let's say, hey, actually, I don't want those pictures to appear first. I don't want that text to appear first. I want that picture to appear first. Well, I can change the order of it so that way that picture ends up appearing first onto the page then. I can also set certain things to start on the same time as others. So let's say I want the first 3 rows to appear all at once. Well, if I click on this, hit start with previous, well, guess what? What's going to happen is that you see how there are now 2s next to all of these then? When I do the second part of the animation, then all 3 of those will appear at once. So let's go ahead and double check that then. So remember, I set the picture to go in first that time, so it did. And I set the first 3 lines to animate all at once. So wow, they all did. The one appeared, the one faded, the one flew in all at once then. So you can set up animations with this animation slide right there. But you can really try to get into the nitty gritty of what those animations look like using the animation pane on the right-hand side, also found under animations at the top then. The next really good advice for PowerPoint then is that you can often insert YouTube videos and media into your presentations then. So if you go up to the top here to insert, and then it's under insert video. I guess it would be under, well, I have a smaller screen, so the screenshot wasn't accurate there. So I guess mine would be under media then. But to insert a YouTube video then, you can go to insert, media, video, and then online videos. It'll pop up with this little dialogue here. If I was signed in, it would let me do it. Okay, there it goes. It went that time. And then what you can do is you can just go in and copy and paste YouTube video right there then. Let's go ahead and do one. So if I type in YouTube right now, PowerPoint how to. I can grab the YouTube link for this one right off the top here. I can paste it in. Sometimes there's a reason I did it that way. Sometimes when you grab, it won't necessarily work because if you can see that there's a lot of different text on there. It's adding other stuff on there. Is if that initial copy and paste doesn't work on the YouTube video, if you see the share button right here. If you see that share button, then you can get another link right here. You can copy it, and then this link specifically, I know will work. So click insert. I say it will work, and then it doesn't. And of course, nothing's ever easy, right? Well, anyway, all right. I could try to troubleshoot that later. But what it ends up looking like in the presentation itself is that if you put that video screen into there then, and then you go into present mode, then you will see the YouTube video pop up. If you click on it, you can actually start watching.
In this video tutorial, we're going to.
So make sure though that if you're sharing a video in your PowerPoint, when you share your screen on Zoom or Teams, like that, make sure that you have a section turned on for share your audio as well. So that's a pretty common issue I see when people are sharing YouTube videos on in PowerPoint presentations, and that they'll have this connected, but they won't have the audio shared as well. So me, myself, I did make sure to turn that setting on then.
PowerPoint, this video is still a good one to watch because the same basic functionality will still work in older versions of PowerPoint.
So hopefully that audio came through there too. And so I chose this video specifically to also highlight that when it comes to working with PowerPoint, there are a lot of online resources available for you out there. So when it comes, like the way that I learned how to use PowerPoint was using things like YouTube University, or using things like just searching on Google to try to find templates, try to find advice, try to find tips and tricks. There are a lot of online resources to help you with these services as well. So if you're really having trouble trying to get something to display on PowerPoint, then it doesn't ever hurt to go to Google and see if anyone else has had a similar issue, see if there's any solution out there.
PowerPoint, going back all the way to a.
All right, and so one more intermediate tip then is that when you share your PowerPoint files, when you share slides for a presentation, I always recommend exporting those files as a PDF. So to let you behind the curtain a little bit, I've been talking with Sean. The plan is for me to send you a version of the slides for Sean to send you a version of the slides after our presentation here. Well, I have an email at Sean, a PDF of our slides then. What I want to do is I want to export this PowerPoint file as a PDF file. Because a PDF file will make sure it has consistent appearance. So if you look at a PDF file on your computer versus someone else's computer versus someone else's computer, that PDF will look the same every time. It also is a lower file size. So if you're limited in your storage space, a PDF is a little bit easier. A PDF is also nice in that it doesn't have a little bit of the fluff of the PowerPoint file. Like you won't see my animations on there. It just have the slides in general. So I've been meaning to send Sean a version of these slides as a PDF then, but I haven't done it yet. So let me go ahead and make the PDF version I'm going to send to Sean right now. So in order to export your PowerPoint file as a PDF, if you go to the top left-hand corner to File, you click on File. Now you can do this a few different ways. The easiest way, in my opinion, is if you go down to Print, and then select from your printer options, Microsoft Print to PDF. I found that's the easiest way to do it. So File, Print, make sure you select Microsoft Print to PDF. And then if you click Print, what will happen is that you can go and save those files somewhere on your computer then. So let me make sure I'll put on here, copy for Sean. It'll save. It'll take a few seconds to load down here. But by the time that's done loading, I'll then have a PDF version of these PowerPoint slides too. What's nice then is that if I look here into this folder, once this is done, because this is the folder I saved it in, I can then open that PDF. Wasn't done loading. Here we go. And what's nice is that I now have this consistent appearance version of those slides then. So the copy of the slides that you received after our presentation today should look like these PDF, should look like this PDF version. What's nice about that is that I know that PDF version that you see is going to look the exact same as it looks for me on my computer. Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, with Google Slides versus PowerPoint, then there can sometimes be compatibility issues going back and forth. So with the PDF file, you can make sure you have that consistent appearance, and that really balances out, adds up. Then. All right.
Johnny, I think Holly has a question.
Oh, sure, Holly. So sorry I missed you.
No worries, thank you. So I have two questions. The first one is there a way to maybe save the video somewhere? I've had a situation, it hasn't happened a lot, but had a situation where I had embedded a a video in my PowerPoint, but then they took the video offline.
Oh.
And then the second question I have is, and so I've also embedded videos. Obviously, I do a lot of presentations. I embedded the video, but then when the video is over, it pulls up, like, I don't know, all of the web searches that I did or maybe somebody else did, and they're showing at the bottom. But sometimes I want to stay on the end of that before I move ahead for conversation. And so I don't want people to see, like, I don't know.
Your recommended videos, things like that.
Yeah.
So for the second answer, if it's something like YouTube specifically, there aren't many. I don't know of a specific solution off the top of my head to hide your recommended videos on there. One thing is, like, to make sure that you're signed out of your service, like to make sure that you're not signed into your specific YouTube account. Like, I think when I pulled this up, you probably saw some of my recommended. I think I had like video game music in the background. Yeah, I had video game music in the background. So that's probably not the most professional appearing then. One suggestion is to make sure to pause your video before it's over, because when the YouTube video ends, that's when it'll pop up with all those different video thumbnails on there all at once. If the video is paused, it should still mostly present the same way then. So
so pause, don't end it.
Yeah, pause it, don't end it. So like
in this video tutorial
example right here then. So like if this video ends, like you see how different things are popping up, like you see how all these up right here.
That's what I get right there.
Yeah, if you pause it instead, it will have some things up there, but it'll at least be fewer of those things pop up.
Okay.
So making sure to pause it before the video ends is a nice way to avoid having those other recommended things pop up. If they do pop up, you can also click this X right there, and then it'll just be the paused. There was an X in the top right corner here.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get that to pop back up. Or, well, yeah, if it was more videos. So like if things pop up like this, there's an X in the top right-hand corner to close out of that real fast.
Okay.
For the first question, which was embedding the video itself into you can do that too. I try to avoid it because then the PowerPoint file size gets really the full video in there too. But if you're worried about a YouTube video like being deleted or a YouTube video not being available forever, then trying to save that video and putting it in there can really help too. The process for putting that in there is relatively similar. So insert video, and then from this device, if you have that video file saved on your device itself, then inserting the video from this device, this should pop up it should pop up your files in there, and then you can choose to put one in there. I'm not as familiar with putting videos from your own computer into there, because again, I try to avoid it because of that file size thing. But as I understand, it should work pretty similarly there.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Were there any other questions? So sorry if I missed it. I'm not sure if you see it, but I minimized the view of the participants for a second. I'm not sure if that's coming through on the share screen. But if anyone has any other questions, real fast. Okay. All right. Let's keep going with it. So to hop back into the to get into the expert tips for PowerPoint, then one thing that's really helpful is using presenter view. So as I understand, your view of my screen right here should just be the one slide, correct? Where all you're seeing is just the slides itself then? Well, if I come down here to this little 3 dots in the bottom left, is she right here? If I click on that, if I then click show presenter mode, if you're seeing the same thing on my screen, there should now be a lot of different options on there. So we have the current slide on the left-hand side. We have the next slide on the right-hand side. We have some different buttons around here. With this presenter view is really, really nice in that it helps give you, the presenter, a lot more information to you when you're on there. If you have any notes written on the right-hand side, Like me myself, I prefer to I try to memorize my presentations a little bit, or try to go off what's on the screen then. But if you're someone who likes to have specific notes for your slides, the notes that you write on the bottom of the screen right here, notes go here, will then display on that presenter mode side of it then too. So I typed in notes go here, well, then they appear on the bottom right-hand side. It also appears what's coming up next. So remember those animations we had earlier. If we go back, what those animations will show is that it will show the next animation to appear here. So this left-hand side is what the members of the, or what the members, or what the people viewing the screen see. But this next animation screen right here is going to be the next thing I do. So if I go and click my mouse, well, then the things will pop up. It helps give you a preview of what's coming up next. So if you're someone who really tries to work on your transitions when you're on there, having that presenter view can be really, really nice then. And what's also nice is that for a lot of the Zoom presentations or Microsoft Teams presentations, you can set it up where Zoom will only display this main slide right there. The normal version that that was somebody else's sound. The normal display all the normal details. But the presenter view, so like the way you can set a presenter view is that the attendees of the meeting will see this normal screen right here, whereas you, the person presenting, will see your specific presenter view yourself. So you'll see the full details and everything like there though. However, you always want to make sure to test that ahead of time then. The last thing you want for your for when you're presenting to an audience is for them to see all of this detail right here then. Because I know myself, if I'm watching a presentation or listening to a presentation and there's all this extra information in right there, I'm going to be looking ahead to, okay, what's coming up next? Or I'm going to be looking at their notes to see, oh, okay, what do they have to talk about there? It can be really, really distracting if the end audience is seeing this screen as opposed to just the slide itself then. So I always make sure you test that ahead of time then. I'm not gonna lie, right before starting this meeting, I tested it myself with Sean to make sure that people would be seeing the correct screen when I'm showing them that. So if you do use, the reason why I call it an expert tip is that you want to make sure to avoid this presenter view being viewed by everyone else too. So it can be a really, really helpful tool in terms of providing you, the presenter, with a lot more information. But it could also be a distraction if you mess it up then, because then the other attendees, the other viewers of the presentation will be seeing too much information. So let me switch away from the presenter view. One other really helpful tool can be making annotations right when you're in presenting mode. So not as in the presenter view, as in all that other detail, although you can do it there as well, but just in this present mode. So present mode being how I'm going back and forth slide to slide as opposed to the edit view of this then. So in this present mode, if you go down here to the bottom left, it can be a little bit hard to see because of the slide right here. But there's this button here for annotations. What you can then do is you can then click something like a pen, and you can draw right onto the screen then. So using my mouse, I can then go over here and highlight, hey, we are looking at tips and tricks to using Microsoft Outlook and PowerPoint. I can then go down here and switch a highlighter instead, saying, hey, I want to highlight, you got to be in present mode in order to do this then. So if you're doing a presentation with a lot of key information, making these annotations can really, really help them. What's also really, really great is that you can save these markings. That red circle I drew around tips and tricks, or that highlighting I did in present mode, that doesn't just need to be for those people who view that presentation itself then. If I exit out of the present mode, PowerPoint is going to give me this pop-up right here asking me if I want to keep my ink annotations. If I click keep, well, even on the edit view, that highlighting I made and that circle I made will still maintain onto the slides themselves then. So let's say I go through a whole presentation. I want to make, I'm circling key details, I'm highlighting key details, then I can make sure that those annotations I made can also be kept on to other people then. So not only is annotations really good to highlight key information while you're presenting, but if you highlight that key information then move on, then you can also make sure to keep those annotations as well. Okay. All right, so the last expert tip we're going to be diving into today is what we call the slide master. So what the slide master refers to is the initial template of your slides themselves then. So if you go up to view and then click on slide master, what it's going to display is the initial templated versions of this PowerPoint presentation that we made. So if you'll see, I can go in, I can edit different things. We have page number set on there, so I can edit if we don't want a new slide using that templated, those new slide versions that have page numbers on there. We can go in there and edit different slides then. We can also even edit something like background details. Let's say this slide version I have right here has the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence and University of Pittsburgh logo on the left-hand slide. Well, if I wanted to get rid of that, I could go into the slide master and I could delete it right then and there and make sure that all those other slides don't have that set in there. The reason why the slide master is so useful is or anything like that. I can't click on this to exit out of it. Is my okay? So sorry, my internet froze for a second there. Hopefully I'm still on.
Your voice had cut off for a moment.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, glad to hear I'm back because I was gonna say that our internet went out for a second here. So I guess to rephrase the section I had started. With that slide master, you can make PowerPoint templates and also make background elements that can't be edited otherwise then. So again, if I click this Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence logo, or I click that university on this actual slide. However, if I go into the slide master, if I click view and then slide master, this is where I can then go forth and edit the template itself then. So if I go up to the full top, I can now delete that logo, or I can add a second pit logo. I can put one right next to it then. So, and then if I save that slide master and exit the master view, what happens when I come back is, since I've updated the master, I've now updated all of the different slides I have that use that master format then. So when I added that second logo, it added a second logo to this slide. It added a second logo to that slide. It added I mean, you can't see it there, but what it does is it goes through and edits the template of the entire document then. So when you edit the slide master, you can make a lot of different changes to your overall document. If you set up a really good master right at the beginning when you're working on this stuff, when you're working on the PowerPoint, then you can make sure that you have consistent formatting, really good templates throughout the entire document. So that slide master, if you're someone who wants to set up a really nice looking PowerPoint and use it from there on, setting up a really good slide master is definitely my top expert tip moving forward there. And so with that, we've covered all of our main specific tips there. So I'd like to open it up to the group then. Does anyone have any specific questions or comments or anything like that that we can go into in a little bit more detail?
I do. I want to give everyone on the call a chance, but when you put notes in the bottom of your PowerPoint,
Yep.
what do you have to do so they don't show up when you're presenting?
Okay, so so if you go into present mode, so here I'll just start from this slide right here. So
Okay.
it should default to this standard view right here. So right now you're just seeing the slide itself, correct?
Yes.
It's when I go into that specific presenter view. So clicking on the dots and these dots in the corner and clicking presenter view, that's when those notes appear then. So what's happened with a lot of, yeah. And so if you go into this presenter view, you'll then see these notes. But right now I'm making what could be a common mistake in that right now you can see the full presenter view. You can see the two slides. You can see if I had notes up there. What's important to test ahead of time is making sure that the presentation that other people see is not this presenter view. You want what other people to see to just be the slide itself then.
Yes.
And you can set that up in Teams or in Zoom specifically then. So when you're choosing what to share, you should choose specifically your presentation itself. Since I've been going back and forth, I shared my entire screen because that made it a little bit easier to then demonstrate updating it in PowerPoint specifically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Of course, Doris.
So I guess I have a feedback on that. So it's really great that you can have your presenter view showing if you have two screens, and then you can, have your, what if you only have one screen? I mean, is there any way that you can see something that your audience doesn't see? Like, are you?
Yeah. So in your Zoom settings, or well, in your Zoomer, well, actually here, let's do a little inception here. So let's say I start a Zoom meeting here in my Teams meeting. Hopefully my computer can handle all this. And this is similar to Teams as well. So when you go into Zoom or Teams, you have a choice of what you want to present to the people, to the members of the group then. If you share the whole screen, that's when you get into the situation of your presenter view also displaying to other people. So right now I'm sharing my whole screen. So when I go into presenter view, you are seeing the whole presenter view then itself. Then. If I have the presentation up, and then in Zoom, I can then choose to share a specific version of it then.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Zoom is still only going to see this then. Let me then go back into this and switch presenter view. If I remember correctly, Zoom is smart enough. All right. So you see how this screen right here is just the slide itself. So even though I'm looking in PowerPoint at the presentation view, those end users, those people on the Zoom meeting are only seeing that slide then. So as I scroll through here, even with me only having one screen right now, I'm still looking at presenter view, and the other people in the Zoom meeting are only seeing the one slide then.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, I've done this a lot. I'm pretty familiar with the process. What I always recommend is just making sure to test it ahead of time. So if you want to make sure you have that presenter view up, just make sure you try to do a run through with a coworker or a run through with another person, just to make sure that the people are seeing what you want them to see. Then.
Okay. Any other questions? Johnny, as always, it's been a pleasure. I liked your methodical approach about explaining everything in detail. And one thing about it, if we get stuck, we know how to find you.
Exactly.
I just would ask everyone, don't forget to take a moment and fill out your survey to give us the feedback for Johnny so he'll know how he did. Some announcements I'd like to make for you is, don't forget, September 15th is our Power Breakfast meeting with the Secretary for the Department of General Services. We'll be sending out the announcement probably next week. But he's new, Reginald McNeil, very nice, and I think you all like him and his message for small business owners, so plan to attend. On the 20th, we have a How to Do Business with the City of Pittsburgh. They have updated a lot of the personnel in the city departments. And this is to help you toggle through and know how to get the information you need for responding for how to do business. On the 27th, we're doing an introduction to government contracting with Faith Collins, who's the contract procurement program manager for the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. That should be interesting. She's very good at that. And we're planning a number of things for the remaining of the year, so stay tuned. We'll give you that. But don't forget, you still have time to sign up for the golf clinic. Golf clinic is July 28th. Our chair is Honorary Michelle Gainey, First Lady for the City of Pittsburgh. We've got some wonderful items, a beautiful set of clubs for women that we're raffling off, as well as some photos as we do each year. So please take the time. Hopefully you can come, but plan to attend some of our upcoming workshops. Again, Johnny, I appreciate what you've done. Keep in touch, and this concludes our workshop. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.